to make it a thing.
I think that's a good plan.
All right, so we just watched the debate. I guess we're live right now. You guys been tuning in at the Daily Caller on our Facebook page. It's been an hour and 35 minutes of ramming and slamming and screaming and yelling and wrestling match. Where do you think we headed, Christian? Who won?
To be honest, I don't know. I think both candidates performed extremely well. I think Donald Trump was winning until the whole birther issue was brought up. But both candidates did what they needed to do. Clinton tried to make Trump seem unfit, like he doesn't have the right temperament. And honestly, all Trump had to do was not mess up and start screaming about something or other, and he didn't do that.
Mess up a little bit on that birthday.
He got
frazzled, and he was all over the place.
Which I'm shocked. I'm shocked that would trip him up. You'd think if there's one thing they were going to prep him for,
right,
it was going to be the birther thing, and it just seemed like he kind of winged it and didn't do that great of a job.
He did say he wasn't necessarily preparing for the debates, so
he said he was born ready. So one of our commenters points out that there was no talk of Benghazi. They said there was no talk of emails. We saw Donald Trump and Lester Holt hit her a little bit in emails, and it was a rigged debate. Not only that, but we kind of saw this thing where over and over again the moderator would say, well, Donald Trump, you said this. Explain it. He did that once to Hillary on the emails. And when the crowd got excited for Donald Trump, which they were told not to, he would say, quiet down. But when they got excited for Hillary, he would kind of just let it go a little bit.
Yeah.
So do we think that Lester Holt was a fair moderator?
I think in terms of asking you said X at Y time, explain that. He did that to Trump, like you said. He did it multiple times. And I don't believe he actually ever did that to Hillary.
Once on the emails a little bit.
But even that's not even, he would press Trump about, well, you said this. Tell us really what you meant. And he never did that to Hillary. He never went after her like that. And he didn't even touch on the server. He didn't, I think in terms of that, it was definitely one-sided.
I don't disagree with you with that, but I think that almost helped Trump a little bit. The more camera time he gets, the better for him. And to his credit, he didn't slip up. You know, he was able to drop some facts, and honestly, I thought held his own.
And there's this insane thing with the media where, like, you see was at the New York Times, the Washington Post, releasing this article being like, should reporters be objective? And it's like, Lester Holt, your grandkids are going to ask you, what did you do to stop literal Mecha Hitler and Donald Trump? And he's going to be like, well, I asked him about things he said. Yeah, and these are really important to these reporter types. It's interesting to watch with the debate, the folks who are like covering it there. It's an entire room of folks catered by Google who are so far removed from any one of our families watching in their living rooms right now. You couldn't possibly. It's like the ice citadel off in the corner, completely removed from America. And it'll be funny to see what they try to spin up tomorrow. Because Trump was winning for the first 30 minutes solidly, which is...
First half, I definitely think he won. Do we think that he showed respect to Hillary? What do we think about that?
I thought that was pretty funny at the beginning. When he's like, so, I want to make sure you're very happy. So Secretary Clinton, is that good? Is that good? I want to make sure you respect it.
He did. He had some good zingers. And again, I feel like after the birther thing, his zingers became more strained. Like he was trying harder.
I think he pulled it back.
Yeah.
There was one point at the end where Hillary Clinton started talking about women's rights and just the plight of females in general. And I thought she was trying to bait him into going after Monica Lewinsky or any of Bill Clinton's
I think he missed the opportunity on that, actually. He could have given...
for him not to do it.
I
think it makes him look serious. I think it makes him look...
But his
that's actually what one of our commenters is saying. And Blake, if you can throw up the name of that person. We see Trump equals presidential. Is that what we're getting here? Did Trump look presidential, or did he just fly off the handle?
Wanted him to do.
He wasn't nearly as bombastic.
So much.
I think he was much more put together, and he was quoting statistics. He was listing off numbers. He sounded like he did give a lot of, I know people and so, but he was also giving hard facts on numbers and dates and years and things that he hasn't done before, which was substance. He seemed like he had more depth.
At the end. I saw people in the newsroom going like, oh, what's going to happen next when Hillary started hitting him on being mean to Rosie O'Donnell? And he's obviously called Hillary's husband a serial abuser of women. He's called Hillary Clinton an enabler of that. And he goes, I could say some really mean things about you and your family, but I'm not going to. he kind of held back a little bit, and you could tell that was some of the training he's had in this new campaign.
There was tension in the newsroom when that was happening. I thought he was gonna.
I thought he was gonna go buck wild.
Sure. Yeah.
Well, I was nervous at the end when they were asked, would you honor the vote of the country on who's the next president? I was getting kind of nervous when I was like, okay, Donald, just say yes. This is a silly question. Like, yes, of course I would.
It was a total
and he started rambling and kind of started talking about. He did at the end. He was fine, but I was sitting there like, come on, dude, just.
You got the last word in.
You're at the finish line.
Right, just end it on a good note. Because Hillary, that's what she does. She practices that. She has her one-liners and she knows how to spit them out. He doesn't. I was worried that he was gonna actually have a pretty good first debate and then
he's
trip
easier
on his way
to work with. He should just be straight up on this whole where was Obama born thing. I mean, I think the most succinct explanation is Obama being a foreigner is a rumor started by Obama in college because it was cool. It was pushed on by Hillary Clinton because it was helpful.
Right.
And then it was Trump, as he often does with his brand, stamped his brand on it. And now he's like, oh man, maybe I shouldn't have put my brand on that one. Sidney Blumenthal, all these creepy people are involved.
Yeah.
But at least at the end, he did wrap that up and say, like, and Hillary Clinton didn't actually ask for a couple more minutes with the debate from Lester Holt to answer it because there's not much else.
I do think though, at least in the first half, it seemed like Trump cowed them both Hillary and Lester Holt pretty definitively a couple times. He would say, hold on to her, hold on to him, and steamroll over them.
Oh, yeah.
And it was just neither of them did anything about it, which gave him this look of commanding. You watched Hillary's face, you watched her lips purse, you watched her
control the stage.
Yeah, visibly get irritated because he dominated it in that first half. I mean, I think
you could tell she was trained to. He would pick at her. She would be giving a speech, and all of her speeches, they were so well planned. I mean, you can tell because her cadence is terrible when she's going. It's like, and as they say, like that's not.
Well,
the
it's like she has a bad internet connection. She'll talk of talk, and it's not smooth.
And she starts blanking, and he's hitting her, and she's refusing to get off script, which has probably worked to her benefit because we saw good debaters, masterful debaters like Marco Rubio and Ted Cruz easily get derailed by being like, you know what, Donald, and then there's suddenly he's got you in a wrestling hold,
and then it's Marco.
And she didn't do that. Yeah,
and we have
Marco.
Faith on Facebook saying that Hillary was a politician, polished but fake.
Did you notice how she was smiling for almost the entire first hour of the speech? It was a little bizarre. It was a little creepy, but she just looked plastic to me up there.
I think you can tell in her cadence. She just doesn't speak like we're talking right now. It doesn't seem like.
Well, yeah,
it's very practiced. She's memorizing things, and it's not near. He's got much more natural.
Those points, I think
she did. She hits them, but it's obviously she doesn't improvise well. And with Trump, I feel like you have to be able to roll with the punches because he's going to interrupt you. He's going to make you lose your train of thought. He's going to throw things at you, and if you keep trying to kind of like revert, like Jeb Bush and these other people did, back to your talking points and try and just keep barreling through, Trump will make you look like a fool.
And then this whole myth that she's been this famous debater. What debates has she won? She lost to Barack Obama.
That's true.
She won the Democratic seat in New York.
And no one really thinks she did that well against Bernie Sanders. I mean,
she didn't.
That was with Bernie, praising her on the stage. And Mark O'Malley having her back on the emails.
So Ari says that Cruz would have wiped the floor with her. Now, what do we think? There was a lot of talk at the beginning. I remember years ago, or a year ago, a lot of people were excited. What's a young Marco Rubio up there going to look like? How's that going to look on the debate stage? How is Ted Cruz going to look on the debate stage? How do we think Donald Trump played out? Did the GOP make a safe bet?
I don't know. I think Ted Cruz probably would have wiped the floor with her in the debate tonight. But that being said, Trump seems to be doing everything right now. He won over Cruz somehow, even though.
But those are the things, like both Hillary Clinton and Ted Cruz, the whole country is really split in who likes who. No one has any doubt that they're intelligent people who have a lot of experience. But both of them have trust problems. Both of them have likability problems.
Democratic Party, but they definitely both have likability problems. I was saying there is doubt over Trump's intelligence among the Democrats.
But he's kind of likable. He's kind of like Joe Biden. People kind of like him. Although I guess Democrats do get completely insane sometimes over him being future psycho Mecca Hitler, because he wants to build a wall on a southern border. Yeah, someone fact check that. How about in trade?
Okay, so trade I thought was pretty interesting. I mean, one of the things that was making me cringe is that it seemed like Trump's obvious default tick is to start talking about trade. It seemed like if there was anything he may have prepared for, he constantly kept going back to trade over and over again.
That's what he feels comfortable with.
Right, exactly. But I definitely think he got her when it came to NAFTA, when it came to Bill Clinton when he was in office. I mean, there were points when he was laying out things of like, look at what happened in the past. This is what's going to happen in the future if you elect her. She didn't have much to say about it.
Well, there really isn't anything to say. I mean, the record speaks for itself. I think luckily for Trump, he wasn't around talking about NAFTA when it was getting passed in the 90s, but...
Although he was always... That's one of the... Like, trade is one of the things he has been consistent on. So people say, like, which Trump we're going to get? Is the 80s Trump, 90s Trump, 2000s Trump, teens Trump? And one thing, like, even in Art of the Deal, he's saying Japan is eating our lunch. Like, we are losing on international trade.
By the way.
And now China is eating our lunch. And he got her good, I thought. He said, this is... You called it the gold standard. You did support this. One thing I'm kind of... interested why he didn't hit her on is when she was talking like, well, release your finances. We want to see your tax returns so we know who you might owe, where you might owe money. And he is, a little bit self-conscious. He was completely focused on, well, don't worry, I'm worth millions. But she was trying to attack him on like, well, where do you owe money? He should have hit back on the Clinton Foundation.
He should have. I think that's smart.
Millions.
He shot at the emails, but
he did. But you could have.
The Clinton Foundation takes money from human slavers.
He could. I think if he had dug right into the fact that her and Bill and the foundation have taken millions from Saudi Arabia, from Middle Eastern countries for this foundation, that I think would be an incredible opportunity that he definitely missed. And maybe again, he didn't prep on it. I'm not sure. He
should
I
have.
think he's certainly prepped on it. I almost think it's like there's nothing else you can say about it at this point.
And actually,
he should blow
Facebook's bringing up a good point. We asking why didn't Trump push on the Second Amendment? Basically conceded. That's a good point when they were talking about the inner cities, when they were talking about stop and frisk. I mean, the no-fly list, the terrorists. They basically both kind of.
I may be a bit squishy on this, but I say don't fault him on the no-fly list from a conservative point of view. Now the reason for that is like conservatives push back against the no-fly list thing. They say, I don't care if you're in a no-fly list, you can still have a gun. Because the no-fly list has no checks and balances. No one knows how you get on it. People don't know how to get off of it. And it's just randomly stripping you of your Second Amendment rights, and people are afraid of that. However, Hillary Clinton's got a fantastic talking point there. When she say, if you're too dangerous to fly, you're too dangerous to have a gun. So you could get dragged down in the weeds and have a policy debate about it. Or you could say, as he pointed out, I will work with people on this fly list to find how the government
correctly. We will do what we can. We will help you get off of the no-fly list. But you're right that Hillary Clinton has these great one-liners. Again, it's the Democratic. They are very good at the one-liners and the emotional. If you're too dangerous to fly, you're too dangerous to buy. These slogans, and Republicans can try and fight back against that. But when you fight back against one-liners with policy, people start to go, I don't care anymore.
I felt like it was reversed this time. Usually, the Republican seems kind of robotic and bogged down in policy. This time it was kind of the opposite. Hillary was kind of robotic and bogged down in policy, and Trump was freewheeling and saying, yeah, sure, we'll do that, but we'll do this. Now, before we wrap up, because I know the folks are pretty darn tired,
I am.
What difference do you guys think would have made if Gary Johnson was allowed to this debate?
I think we would have seen Trump be a little bit more freewheeling. I think he loses less from sort of attacking Gary Johnson, letting him be his,
He would love that.
Well, and
all right,
pipe
down there, Pipsqueak.
Like
he did to Rand Paul.
Yeah.
More
hey,
voters.
Gary, where's Aleppo?
Exactly, right. Well, good thing for Gary Johnson. That wasn't really brought up much in this debate. But it's been shown in the polls that more voters, Hillary loses more people to Stein and Johnson than Trump does.
Yeah,
that's true.
So, but just in the interest, not talking in the interest of the GOP or the Democrats, in the interest of the country, should Gary Johnson be up there debating?
I don't think it hurt anything, honestly. Why not? I say why not.
I don't have a problem with him up there, but I think he's demonstrated, especially with Syria and just what he's done in the last 2 weeks, that he's not a legitimate candidate.
Aleppo-gate?
He's just going to need to, no one who's voting for Gary Johnson's upset because his foreign policy credentials aren't in order. They ought to know that beforehand. But if he gets to 10%, I'd love to see him up there.
If he gets to 10%, I think he should be up there. That's fair. He's at 8 in Bloomberg right now. Is that correct? I think?
Yeah, and some polls have showed him at 13%.
True.
It was at CNN or Bloomberg today. And speaking of 10, it's 11.
Well, we're sure that you guys are pretty tired after a debate like that. We're pretty tired too, so we're going to let you go. But thank you so much for joining the Daily Caller for the first presidential